Hi, Andy.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good. So it looks like we don't have all members, but we got at least one, two, three, four,
Hey, Pam,
five.
the phone number 3146 is mine.
Who was that?
Andy.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll change your
Yeah.
name on there if that's okay,
Sure.
just so I know who's speaking.
There he is. I guess we have, I don't know if Gabrielle is going to join, but we have enough
She
to
is not
start.
attending tonight.
Okay, so then
Okay.
you want to bring up the public hearing notice or scroll
But
us?
we'll
I
do
guess?
roll call vote first
Roll call
and
first. Yep.
verify
Mhm.
attendance.
Yep.
Gerard Ahern,
Present.
Andy Kishitz,
Present.
Brian Holmes,
Here.
Bradley Reed,
Present.
Elizabeth Hutchins,
Here.
and John Dixon's here as ZBA alternate.
Here.
Perfect. You want to bring up the meeting notice?
Yes.
And I'll read that and we'll kick it off. It looks like Doug and his team's there. So, okay. So, in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 11, and Chapter 250, Section 3C, the Bolton zoning bylaws, notice is hereby given that the Bolton Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. via Zoom to hear and act upon the application of two-story building for property owned by Bolton Investment Trust located at 544 Waterquarter Hill. The applicant seeks a special permit for the expansion or change of a non-conforming use for a restaurant located in the residential zoning district to allow for construction of an outdoor patio. Public hearing will be conducted via remote participation pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18. Login information is provided below and posted on the town calendar on the homepage of the Bolton website at www.townofbolton.com. So the application and plans can be reviewed on town hall during regular business hours and available for review online at https://www.townofbolton Board of Appeals pages current projects. So with that, why don't we have Doug and the applicant present the application?
Okay, thank you very much, Gerard. I'm Doug Story of Two Story Building. I'm the general contractor hired to renovate the restaurant for Charlie McCall, who's right next to me, the owner. I'll take you through the packet I submitted real briefly and then open it up to whatever you folks would like to hear. Basically, I went to the building inspector when we first looked at renovating the building and showed him the plans for what we were planning to do. And he told me that, the interior work was largely cosmetic or related to, bringing a bathroom up to ADA requirements. So we had the right to do that. So we did issue the interior building permit and we have started work on the interior of the building. But that any changes to the exterior would be considered, significant changes would be considered a need for a special permit through the ZBA because of the fact that this is a pre-existing non-conforming property. We have a business residence in a residential zone. It's been there, as we all know, for longer than I've been in Bolton. It's been many different restaurants over those years. And beyond that, it also, we also in doing our due diligence with the Board of Health and And the EP or the State Environmental Board, determined other things that we had to be aware of that we had to be following in terms of the pre-existing non-conforming stature of it. But what we're before you for are the exterior changes that we're
Mhm.
considering and we'd like you to look at. I'll go through it briefly. A couple of things. The Board of Health has this restaurant rated as 110 seats based on the size of the septic system, and that is not going to change. So even though there are more than 110 seats on the plan, we're not asking for more than 110 people to be seated at any given time. And this is also a pre-existing agreement that the Board of Health had with the last several, basically you're limited to 110 seats. You can shut off an area and have a different area open as long as you don't exceed that. So that we intend to continue to do the same thing. The big changes on the exterior, we are going to improve the exterior facade with siding and painting and new windows, and things like that I think are considered cosmetic. But the two sort of big changes are the things you see in the foreground on both the left and the right. The first is to rebuild the existing handicap ramp, which also has a deck associated with it currently. And that deck did have outdoor seating with it as well. It does not meet ADA regulations. You're not supposed to exceed 1 inch and 12 inches. It's a 20-inch rise, so we need 20 feet of ramp. Basically, there's probably about, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet of ramp there now. So in order to get that correct configuration for the ramp, we have to bring the ramp forward and come up, turn the corner, as you can see on the left-hand side there where you see the railings. So the whole reason for that change is to make that an ADA accessible approved ramp. And in the process of doing that, we really sort of lose that seating area there. So the desire is to move the seating to the right where you see the pergola, and that is currently actually 5 parking spots. And when I say 5 parking spots, there are 5 in a row there on the parking plan that we'll look at in a minute. The pergola doesn't fill those 5 parking spots because the 2 are on the end that we're not gonna use at all. That's sort of an access around the building that the fire department has asked that we continue to keep that open, and we will. But the pergola goes to the right corner of the building over to the entrance where you can see the second entrance there. And the concept is to have some flower boxes that give it some shading and some, separation from the parking lot, and then have some exterior seating there. The number of seats is probably a few more than what were on the deck before. I think maybe there were 20 on the deck before, and we're looking at 36 or 38. But again, if that area was in use, then a large portion of the restaurant would be closed off. The idea being maybe that, during the daytime or whatever, people would want to sit outside rather than sit inside anyway on a nice day. So those are the 2 big things that we're proposing here that change the footprint on the exterior of the building. We're moving the ramp forward to create an ADA ramp, and then we're moving the seating away from that area over to the right and making it a little bit bigger and obviously a little bit nicer. We can continue through
Doug, if I read correctly, in doing so, you're not altering or encroaching upon like the front, or the setbacks in the front or the sides.
That's correct. We're not asking for any zoning relief from any bylaws. So we're not encroaching on setbacks. We're not doing anything that is not allowed, in a restaurant use. The question is, because again, this is a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Mhm.
Any change like this has to get your approval.
Right.
Because we are changing the exterior footprint. I'll just make note of the fact that we did go to the state DEP and had them look at it as well, because this was a Board of Health requirement, that again, any changes to the exterior had to be approved by the state DEP. So we went ahead and did that, and we got that approval ahead of time, just so that that would be crossed off our list. And I included a letter from them. And it relates to the zone 1 around the well. The well is in the back of the
Mhm.
building. It's actually underneath the stairs of the bulkhead in the back of the building. We're not getting anywhere near the back of the building. We're not doing any work back there. So they did not have any problem with us,
Mhm.
what we proposed here in terms of the stuff in the front of the building. Um,
Mhm.
The other attachments I've included show the seating so that you can see that, total number of seats inside is approximately 100, which is under the 110. Then there's 36 outside. So if we were to use the outside seating, we would close off the portion on the inside, as it was before. Largely the building on the left side, the old house part of the restaurant, was only used for special functions. And then if you use that, and I'm not saying it would only be used for a special function, but you can close that off easily and have the outdoor seating, and then you can use it for a function and close off the outdoor seating. So it's pretty easy to make that change and stay within the 110.
Mhm.
That picture, that picture right there shows you the seating.
Mhm.
And we make note of the fact that we have no intention of exceeding the 110 seats that are allowed by the Board of Health.
So just procedurally, who monitors that? Is that just the restaurant saying, okay, we're at our max?
No, it's all about the septic system, the size of the septic system.
No, I get that, but who actually is enforcing that? Like if you have a party or a busy day and you have 36 out front and 100 people inside, I mean, who's doing that count, or is it
Well,
really
I mean,
just a
that would be,
gentleman's,
that would
That-
be a requirement that would be imposed on the management of the restaurant, that they would have to have a system in place where they would close off one or the other area and only and not exceed the 110 seats. And I think it worked fine before. I think we probably all of us have eaten at that restaurant at various times.
Yeah.
And I don't think the outside was used much. It was used though.
Yeah.
But they had the same agreement in place.
Gerard, I
Yeah.
think their occupancy would be restricted to the 110, so it would be the same
Mhm.
as any building that has a public building that has a maximum occupancy limit, which is enforced by the building inspector and the fire chief.
Okay.
So there's also a page that shows the parking, and the parking requirements are based on the size of the building. The building is right around 4,000 square feet, which at 1 per 100 square feet would require 40 parking spaces. It currently had about 48, I think. And we are in essence just saying we'll keep the same number, which is more than what we need. And the 5 that are currently in the front of the building where the gazebo would be moved to the back of the building. There's quite a bit of land behind the building, so there's no problem with just transferring those parking spaces back there.
So is that going to be a full gazebo, or is it more just a pergola? It looks like
It's really a pergola. It's not a roof.
Okay.
It's just to give you an outdoor look and maybe take a little bit of the sun off and have something you can hang lights on. But
Mhm.
it's
Okay.
meant to be
I thought
outdoor
when you say
seating in good
gazebo
weather.
is going to be like fully closed, but the front.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're not really planning any major construction either. It's a pretty simple,
Yeah.
simple
Okay.
construction.
Mhm.
The final thing that we included was a list of operating hours as requested by the applicant. Essentially, Charlie, we were just talking about it, said he just proposing whatever was already in place before for the restaurant before.
Mhm.
And he can talk to you about what he intends to do with the restaurant and the hours he would actually be open. But this is, obviously, and it's best for him to have, a wide range of hours so that he can see what is the best fit for how he wants to run the restaurant.
Mhm.
They do plan to do breakfast, so that would be the reason for being open in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're, obviously staffing is a concern right now to do a full breakfast every day, but we would like maybe the opportunity to do it and maybe start off, on the weekends. But we certainly would like to have it available to us.
Mhm.
I think that's all we had. If you have specific questions about it.
What's the type of cuisine that's going to be offered from? Because it was sort of eclectic at the most recent restaurant.
Yeah, we're an American fare, family-friendly American fare restaurant.
Mhm.
Can you speak a little to the parking situation?
Sure.
Can you bring that up?
Sure.
In the application, there's obviously that plan that's there. That looks just a little hand-drawn and rough. So I'm curious if you can kind of speak to that a little bit.
Sure.
Just trying to.
So I did give you both a copy of the clean plot plan showing that it's, it's a rectangular piece of property that goes back quite a bit. Obviously, the septic system is way in the back. The dotted line that I've drawn the green lines around, that's sort of the dotted line of the paved area now. But there's certainly room beyond that green line to add more pavement, and it's just wide open space in the back there. So every spot I marked there it's literally a lined spot on the pavement right now. If you were to drive by the restaurant and just pull in the parking lot, you'll see that there are actually lines on the pavement with each of these parking spots. So, there's a long row along the right side, and then there's a middle row. The sign is sort of in the middle that you can see there. There's a middle row with two short rows facing each other, and then there's a row along the street, and then there were the 5 spots right next to the building. We're proposing eliminating those 5, moving those 2 handicap spots to the closest spots to the building, right in front, and then moving the other ones down beyond where you see number 18, 16, 17, 18. I've drawn in 5 new spots there to show that we can easily fit, those 5 spots, which would still give us more than the 40 that we need. I think we're at 45 or something like that. But I'm just trying to keep it the same that it's always been, so that we're not really changing anything. The other thing you can see with that green line that I've drawn around the building, and that was a question by the fire department, I believe, Pam, you had sent that to me. They wanted to know, were we going to maintain safe access around the building? And we will. There's nothing there. It's literally, you could drive a vehicle around it, you could drive a fire engine around it. And where there are numbered spots 4 and 5 right now, those will go away. So that'll be open, and an access for, emergency access, or obviously deliveries and that kind of thing as well.
Doug, entirely.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Brad, you're breaking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Total lot area.
What is the total lot area? It is
Size.
Yes, 55,110 square feet, which is on that plan. Yeah.
I mean, the land area lot, how big is that? This whole thing, the parcel.
Well, 55,000 is a little bit over an acre.
Up, so never mind.
1.3 acres.
I have a question, Doug. I always get a little concerned when I see people seated next to potentially moving vehicles, especially if there's alcohol being consumed. So I'm wondering what is done to maybe reinforce the pergola uprights themselves and or anchor those planters that are going to be installed by the owner to maybe prevent or lessen the likelihood of an accident.
I think that's a great question. The pergola wood, where you see the posts on the pergola, those will be anchored and attached to concrete footings in the ground. So, and all of the pergola sections would be connected with mechanical fasteners, either metal plates, probably metal plates, but certainly with bolts and securely fastened. So when I say it's going to be a pretty simple structure, it is, but it's not going to be anything that anybody could knock over, or, it'll be rock solid. The planters themselves, we haven't talked about the construction of them. They're meant to be, they really have to serve two purposes. One is ornamental and kind of a blocking of, just the parking lot and the road and the sound and everything else with the plants. But they do need to prevent a car from going through them. So there will either need to be a bollard in those or a concrete berm. But we will address that so that a car cannot accidentally go through that and crash into those.
Thank you. It's good to know.
No, that's a very, very good point.
I guess my follow-up question, are you changing any, I mean, you mentioned you'll hang lights from the pergola, right? But are there any other changes that are intended to be made as far as lighting goes with the extended parking? I don't know. I don't think there's much lighting there now, as far as I'm aware. So what's the plan for that, if any?
Well, we are redoing, essentially redoing the electrical in the building so to get everything up to current capabilities. The interior will be much different lighting than before. There'll be a lot more lights and a lot of LED lights, and the lighting it'll be really nice on the inside. On the outside, certainly we need to maintain all the safety lighting that exists now, which would be lighting at every door, emergency exit lights. There's lighting at the sign on the street that will not change. It's just a light right on the sign facing up. So there is no lighting in the parking lot in the sense of, parking access lighting or anything like that. And I don't think we intend to add that. It's never had it in the past, but I would say we're not going to make it much brighter and offensive, but we're going to make sure that it's safe and it's up to current code in terms of lighting. We do have much more detailed plans that show everything that we're doing in the restaurant, and I'd be happy to bring a copy to Pam just so you guys can look at them if you'd like to. It's really going to be, I think, quite an upgrade over what it's been in the past. It's going to be a nice looking restaurant on the inside, and hopefully provide another place for all of us so we can go get a meal. It's pretty limited around here.
So Doug, with regard to plans and like on the renditions that were in the front that were first, we saw like the pergola or, do you actually have any type of plans that you're going to work from or for those pictures that we would have that, so that if we were going to approve something, we could say it's in substantial conformity with what's been supplied to us at this time, so that, we have an idea of that's what we're going to see when the project goes to fruition, or is it still being worked on?
I would say it's still being worked on. I mean, the landing and the deck is very straightforward, and there were plans in there for the actual construction of that in terms of, making it handicap accessible. In terms of the flower boxes and the pergola, we haven't purchased that yet. So, I mean, we'd be happy to share them with the ZBA and explain to you. Obviously, we will be with the building inspector as well,
Mhm.
explain exactly how we're going to construct all these things, so that we show that they meet the, current building code and that they are safe.
Mhm.
We haven't purchased them yet. Frankly, we haven't done anything on the outside because we need to get the permit first before we can do
Yeah,
it.
right, okay. So the whatever dimensions that apparently look from those pictures, that's the footprint you're gonna stay within.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're asking for, is that footprint. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be
Mhm.
exceeding that.
Okay. Um, any other board questions? If not, I see there's a person on the Zoom, looks like the last name Mooney, but I don't know if that's just an interested person listening in or if they have any comments or questions.
I
Pam,
do
it's a
have a question
person.
if the board doesn't have any more.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I'm good right now. You can go ahead.
So before you go, could you just identify your name and address? So
Brian
that,
Mooney, 22
Brian Mooney.
McNulty. The immediate back neighbor.
Okay. All right. Well, the floor is yours, Brian.
You were saying that you were going to be changing the fascia of the building as well. Are you going over it or are you tearing the existing down? And I'm assuming, since you said you went through the EPA, you've already tested it to make sure that there's no chemicals or anything, because all these wells throughout the whole area are all artesian, as you know. So we all share the same water supply. And we also have the water in the back too, which is um, like water land. So that's all been tested to make sure that nothing gets contaminated.
So, for the first question you asked, are we going to remove it or go over it? Most of it is cosmetic in the sense that we're gonna paint over the existing bricks. We're not going to remove them. We don't have any work planned on the roof. It's in decent shape. The siding is, I think it's wood siding, to be honest with you, and it's not in good shape. So we're looking to upgrade the siding. We probably would remove the wood siding. We would test it for lead. We would be required to do that. But that would be the only thing I think that we would run into with that. And we would use lead safe, building procedures to remove it if we do remove it, and encapsulate all of the debris that goes along with that. But there really isn't much that's being removed. Most of the building is brick on the front facade anyway. You've got a little bit of stone on that entrance. And then you can see the yellow areas are the wood siding that are going to get covered over. They're either going to get covered over or replaced with a new siding material. So if there were any, one of the things when I've been doing this for a long time, and we do run into demo projects on older buildings that immediately raise an alarm that there could be some, for example, asbestos or something like that. If we run into that, we have to have it tested. We have to stop work. And we would always follow that, and then the DEP gets involved immediately. I'm not aware, and I have not seen anything in this building that gives me that concern. For example, a lot of old linoleum tiles have that, and there's nothing like that in this building. All the floors are ceramic tile, and we're actually going to leave them and go over them because they're so well adhered that it's just not even worth removing them. But we are going to actually pour a leveling compound on the floor if anyone's ever been in there, when you come in that right-hand entrance, there's a bit of a slope in the floor. And, it's not an ideal situation in terms of safety. So we're gonna actually level that out. So, We are doing interior demo right now, but I have not, again, as I said, I have not run into anything. This restaurant's been renovated quite a few times, so
Mhm.
I have not run into anything that raises a red flag to me that there are hazardous materials.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Doug. Mhm. Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, then we do a motion to close the public hearing session, portion of the hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
Gerard Ahern? I'm confirming the vote.
Yes.
Roll call vote, Gerard Ahern. Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Yes.
Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Bradley Reed,
Yes.
and Elizabeth Hutchins.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing's closed.
Mhm.
I just,
Perfect.
if you wanted, I can review some issues that came up. You might want to consider as conditions of, if you are approving the project.
Sure.
The lighting, exterior lighting, that it not trespass onto a budding property. A barrier be provided to the board for review, which will be visually screening and prevent cars from entering the patio seating area. And that there be no construction intrusion, new building or structure intrusion into the front yard setback requirement.
And did you say in the package there were any specific requests by the fire department or Board of Health?
No, the fire department raised concerns about being able to access the side and rear of the building with the relocated parking, and Mr. Story responded directly to the fire chief's concerns, and then the fire chief was satisfied with the response and had no additional comments.
Okay. And so there were no other boards that had any items we would want to make sure that were specifically called out as a condition.
No, this is jurisdictional under DEP because it's a public water supply, and as the applicant stated, he already reached out to them with the improvements and they've signed off. But that's a independent authority that we don't have jurisdiction over. But they did approve the proposal.
Okay. Yeah. And that approval is in the record anyway, so that's good.
Yes.
All right.
If we approve, do we have to list those conditions or have they already been listed? And we'll just say we approve, assuming the conditions that have been discussed.
If you want to include those conditions, you should include it in the motion to approve the project. You can say as previously stated by the town planner, and then I can list them out in the record.
Okay.
If you don't want to amend any of the wording.
Yep.
Do you want to make a stab at that, Brian?
Yeah. So I would motion to approve the special permit with the conditions mentioned by the town planner, and assuming that the plan is under significant conformity of the plans that were initiated or provided.
Yep.
Second.
Gerard Ahern?
Who seconded that? I couldn't tell.
Andy.
Oh, Andy.
Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Yep. All right.
Gerard Ahern?
Yes.
Andy Kishitz?
Yes.
Brian Holmes?
Yes.
Bradley Reed?
Yes.
Elizabeth Hutchins?
Yes.
The special permit's approved by a vote of 5-0.
Perfect. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I'm getting
I look
hungry.
forward to seeing a new restaurant.
Thank you very much.
And we
Yeah, good
will, obviously you'll put that in the permit, but we will, when we have the plan, the details on those,
Mhm.
the seating barriers, we'll certainly share them with you. And as I said, I'll bring you a full set of plans too, just so you have that, Pam.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Good luck.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Perfect.
All
All
set?
right.
It's done with us?
All set then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, so then we had, do you want to review the fees next, Pam?
Yes, sure. I'll bring them up.
Yeah.
The town select board has a policy that they request all fees of boards and committees be reviewed every 2 years. So we conducted that about a few months ago, and these are fees with similar communities.
Mhm.
And we compared them. Ours seem just a little low for special permit and variances. The other fees seemed in line with abutting communities and
Yeah.
capture costs.
I saw that recommendation, like add $50 to special permit into the variance. It seems reasonable. It still puts us closer to Harvard, but less than, like Boxborough or Stowe, but that's, we don't have to, we get enough fees in town.
I just wanted to, because we report to the select board, they have jurisdiction over the ZBA fees. It is
Right.
included in our rules and regs though, so
Mhm.
my recommendation would be whatever you find this evening to make that recommendation to the select board. Pending their approval, we'd have to conduct a public hearing to change the rules and regs. And I would suggest taking those fees out. And putting them in a town fee schedule. This way we don't need to conduct public hearings every time there's an adjustment.
Mhm. So we would have, we just make a recommendation to the select board and with that recommendation and take them out, or do we have to have public hearings?
We
Once
have,
we-
the zoning board of appeals is required to have a public hearing to change their rules and regs. And because the fees are currently in your rules and regs, we'd need to conduct a public hearing to adjust those fees.
Mhm. So procedure, we would first recommend it to the select board. They would say, yes, we agree, you should change those fees, and then we would do a public hearing?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Can I ask, what's the failure to enforce administrative appeal fee?
That's a good question.
We don't
because
have one, but
the town enforces so if there's an administrative appeal, it's appeal of the building commissioner's decision.
okay.
So we enforce it, the municipalities do. So I don't know what the failure we can't fine ourselves. So I don't understand what that is.
Okay.
They have it in 2 communities.
You must be onto something, no?
Yeah, I'll need to look into that. I'm not sure.
Was there
They
any,
may have
I'm sorry, Pam.
I'm sorry, they may have a different structure than we do. I'm not sure. Never heard of that
Right.
before.
Was there any recommendation to adjust the other administrative appeal fee based on the surrounding towns? Because it looks like that one is quite a bit lower than our abutting towns.
Yes, you could adjust that one as well. We've only had one in the last 10 years, but that could be adjusted as well. It looks like 125 would 150 would be in kind of more in line with what other communities charge.
So maybe make the variance a special permit and that other one, the other administrative, just make them all $150.
That would seem reasonable.
I mean, it doesn't, we're not in any race to win the biggest fees, that's for sure. I don't think.
These costs go towards the cost
They go-
of executing on the administration, or like what is
The fees get collected and go into the general fund.
the general fund?
Yes. If you wanted to make a motion to recommend increasing the fees for variance, special permit, and administrative appeal to $150, I can forward that to the select board.
I'll make a motion to increase the fees for variance, special permit, and other administrative appeal to $150.
Seconded.
Gerard Ahern,
Yes?
Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Bradley Reed,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hutchins.
Yes.
Okay. The recommendation passed by a vote of 5-0.
Okay.
So just so I understand, Pam, that recommendation will go to select board, I assume at their next meeting or whatever in the future.
Yes.
And then after they, let's say, approve the recommendation, then it goes back to an open meeting through ZBA to discuss the fee increase.
That's all. Yeah, that's because for our fees are specifically included in the rules and regs. So under the Board of Appeals rules and regulations, it says the variance filing fee is $100. So to change any rules and regs, you have to have a public hearing.
But at that point, would we also at that same public hearing be able to change that per your recommendation of like removing it from that so that way in the moving forward, if we were to adjust fees, we wouldn't have to do a public hearing for that?
Yeah, my recommendation would be just to pull it out and
Okay.
refer to the fee schedule
Okay.
for the town.
And if there's any other fees called out, we just make that a point of the hearing, right? Just all fees will now be within the town of Bolton's fee schedule.
Yes, then you wouldn't need to do a public hearing in the future.
Okay.
It-
Perfect. I know you have next was the proposed bylaws.
Yes, that was more of an FYI. The planning board
Yep,
has 7 proposed bylaws. If you'd like to discuss any, I'm happy to, or if you want to attend the hearing next week, you of course are welcome, or you can submit private comments to email individually. It's whatever your preference is.
I mean, I looked at them, I didn't see anything that for me jumped out to say, "Ooh, what are they doing here?" But did anyone have want to discuss them or look at them, or is it?
I can pull, if you like, I can pull up the
There's a
summary
summary.
and just give it
Yeah.
okay, just give me 1 second.
Yeah, that way.
Can you see that okay?
Yep.
Or is it small? Okay.
Let's see.
The first is an ADU. The state's adopted a definition and required all communities allow accessory dwelling units by right. So we are making some amendments to our bylaw to comply with that decision, but also creating additional definitions, which will allow sizes that are in accordance with the current bylaw. Part of those amendments was we can no longer, the state requirements is that we can no longer require owner occupancy. Scenic roads, we have some errors in our road names in the scenic road bylaw, so we're just correcting those. It's a pretty simple one. Floodplain district, we have new maps that were created by FEMA. And so we are required to update our floodplain district bylaw to comply with the new map references and some model language that they're requiring. It's to be part of the flood insurance rate program, and that's what people purchase their flood insurance for their homes through. So it's important that we get that through. Sign bylaw, we created some additional design requirements and setbacks for the sign bylaw. They are all currently required to go before the select board at a meeting to get a permit. So we allowed signs that meet the bylaw requirements to get issued a permit by right through the building inspector. If they do not satisfy those requirements, then they have the option to go before the select board at a meeting through application to get a waiver.
Yeah, seems more efficient.
Site plan amendment, it's currently under the jurisdiction of the select board, which was odd because the planning board would hear the special permit and then the site plan would go before the select board, and oftentimes they just referred it to the planning board for jurisdiction. So we're just amending the bylaw. So both the site plan and special permit are under jurisdiction of the planning board. That's, I think, more common with other communities. We're amending the FOSBR to increase the open space requirement to 50% of the parcel size. Currently, the requirement's 30, so we're increasing that. And then we're also requiring a 4-step design process that the applicants prove that they've taken into account certain criteria of the parcel that they're proposing be developed, such as topography, scenic views, soil conditions, that type of thing. And then the cottage district overlay is a proposal to be allowed for all parcels 10 acres or more in the residential zoning district. It incorporates all the design aspects of FOSBR, but it allows a density of 1 bedroom per 10,000 square feet of parcel size, with homes that cannot exceed 3 bedrooms or 1,850 square feet in area. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. The full bylaws were in the link I provided or on the planning board website.
Where would that cottage overlay district be?
It applies to the residential zoning district and for parcels 10 acres or more in
anywhere
area.
in town, or is it
Yes, any residential zoning area.
Okay. We'll see where those pop up, if they pop up.
Yeah.
Okay.
The planning board hearings March 12th.
12.
They've already
Is
had
that
one,
a
but
Zoom?
they're having an additional one. Yes, it's on Zoom.
It's Zoom. Okay. What's the time of that?
7 p.m.
7. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. All right. And I guess the last item of business was you did the minutes for the December 5th?
Yes, the minutes were included for December 5th. I also had the annual report in there.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So that annual report, it looked really good. Although I'm always surprised that I think it only showed 5 meetings or 5 hearings.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot last year.
I always think we had more than we. Maybe it's just the overlap of them, or sometimes when they start and when they finish. But
we went a long span without even having a meeting. I was wondering if you guys kicked me off or something.
No, so, but
If you have any changes to that before I submit it, if you haven't had time to look it over, if you could just email me and any amendments over by
Mhm.
probably Tuesday of next week, that'd be appreciated.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, no, I looked, it was fine.
I thought it looked good.
For what was there, I mean, they're good summaries. But as I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, if only 5 bullets, what, you know? Seemed like no. But that's fine, yeah.
I think Gabrielle and Brian, your terms expire on June 30th, so we'll reach out to you for reappointment at that time.
Okay.
Mhm. And the so how about the I can't, is this the full, do we do any work on the the 40, the comprehensive permit?
Yes, it's mentioned. Sorry, let me scroll down a little.
Yeah, I thought
Having trouble with this. I did, there's a construction update on
there's
the
one, the Alta,
240Bs.
right, I read that, yep, I just didn't see it on the screen. I'm like, huh, looks different, right? Because that was a good part of our time too, yeah, so that's good. Mhm.
Do we ever get, Pam, like summary reports on those, like that we review just to understand the status of those projects and their like compliance status, I guess, for lack of a better term? Because they have, right, you got lots of different people monitoring different aspects to ensure they're maintaining their compliance. But is there any sort of like summary report that's
You can
created?
see stuff is happening, it's under
Yeah, I
construction.
know that it's like major work that's going on, which is exciting, but
For Alta, we get monthly reports, which I'm happy to share. Mallard, we don't get monthly reports. That's a much smaller project. So we do, we have our peer review monitoring, and then they do more of the engineering aspects. So the roadway installation, they inspected the underground stormwater system. And then Concom does their own inspections as
Yeah.
well. But we don't have a summary for that project, but I'm happy to create one and provide it if you need. It doesn't move forward that quickly, that one.
right. Well, I
Where
was just
monthly would be.
curious what the status is, because I know those units have been for sale for a long time now. So I'm
Yeah,
just curious what kind of
Mhm.
pace they're moving at, if you will.
they only have one building permit that's issued, no occupancy permits. They have the stormwater system in the cul-de-sac. They have the front detention pond graded. It's not finalized.
Mhm.
And they have their septic system installed. It hasn't been moving.
They've only been building
terribly.
one, there's only one unit being built right
Yeah, they
now.
only have one building permit, so
Yep.
I hope so. Yeah.
I
I get
periodically see it pop up on my Zillow and they're like, 2 units left. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's not that much
That's
built
the
yet. So like,
Liz, you can call me anytime. The abutter is
Mhm.
my work colleague, so
oh, no way.
I get updates on the
Updates all the
project
time.
all the time.
Oh, Lord.
Mhm.
If that's something you'd like, I can do it probably a quarterly basis on those two projects. I can forward the Alta
Mhm.
more frequently. We get monthlies reporting on those. We also go out probably monthly as well, just to do
I mean,
site checks.
I don't know if anyone else is interested. I would be interested
Mhm.
just to see what's going on. I think it's helpful to keep us updated.
Sure,
I'd like to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
sure.
think it's not a bad idea at some point in time on a hearing that we have a night, just have a 15-minute or whatever session to say, this is what's going on.
Sure.
Mhm. So I guess you want to, if anyone has any questions or comments on that annual review that they don't have tonight, but just get any comments to Pam by Tuesday. Otherwise, it looks good to submit.
Yeah, looks fine by me.
Yeah, I don't have any comments either.
Can we
Fine with
just
me,
vote
too.
on that, just so there's record of you reviewing and approving?
Mhm. So,
Do we have to make a motion to approve it?
Yes, please.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the annual report. It's what's called, right?
Second.
Seconded. Hello, second.
Gerard Ahern? I think he's
Yes.
frozen.
I think he's frozen, yeah.
Yeah, he said yes. I think I
Yes.
heard him.
Yeah.
I think
Andy
Pam's frozen, yeah.
Kishitz,
Yes.
Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Bradley Reed,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hutchins,
Yes.
John Dixon. You want to vote
Yes.
for that one too? Just
Sure.
why not?
You'd like to include me. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And then the last item on the agenda was the minutes.
Right, from December 5th. Mhm.
Did anyone have any amendments or edits they'd like to?
I did not have any.
I didn't, I read through them, spell checked them, everything, it's good.
Yeah, I didn't have any comments either.
So I guess I motion to approve the minutes from December 3rd, was it?
5th.
5th, I think.
December 5th, sorry.
Yes. That's okay.
Second that.
Andy, those turned out to be anticlimactic. That was the one, cultivate.
Yeah.
They withdrew, so it was like,
Gerard Ahern,
yes,
I feel like every vote he freezes.
yeah. Andy, we're gonna
Mhm.
skip over you because you
Non-voting,
weren't
yep.
present. Yeah. Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Bradley Reed,
Looks like he's saying yes.
Elizabeth
Brad, are you
Hutchins.
Yes.
Brad, are you? Yeah. Brad,
Yes.
okay, thank you. John Dixon.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes of December 5th are approved 5-0.
Oh, perfect. Well, then I guess we just need a motion to adjourn and we should be done.
Oh.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Perfect.
Everybody else is frozen, so.
And by
Second it.
default. Oh, I did want to mention one thing. The
Okay.
remote meeting law provisions expire the end of this month and they have not been extended by the state yet. So as of
Ooh.
right now, if we get an additional hearing and we'll have to schedule it for in person.
Whoa. Big
Jeez.
doings.
Been a long
I miss
time.
our in-person
I don't know
meetings.
if I remember how to do that. I don't know if I remember how to do that.
The same, only you can't wear sweatpants, I guess. I don't know.
Or you'll have to put on a pair of sweatpants.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to mention that and make sure you were aware that there is a bill, I think, to extend it, but it hasn't been approved.
Yeah. Huh.
That's good. I
Interesting.
was going to ask that too.
Do people think it's gonna be approved?
People hope it will be.
I bet it is. going
Yeah.
to.
There's been a lot of support for it, so.
Yeah, I would think.
Well, stay tuned.
Did we need a motion to adjourn again?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Gerard Ahern,
Yes.
Andy Kishitz,
Yes.
Brian Holmes,
Yes.
Bradley Reed,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hutchins,
Yes.
and John Dixon.
Yes.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
801.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you.
folks.
Bye,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good
See you
night.
soon.
Thanks.